In our top story this hour, Eskom has now upgraded load shedding to stage 3 for the remainder of the weekend until 5 a.m. on Monday morning. The power utility has lost additional generating capacity on the grid, which has caused severe constraints. Well, the cash-strapped power utility, which suffered almost a decade of maladministration and corruption, says it's lost additional generating units and experienced an increase in demand. It says people should be aware of the possibility of increased load shedding over the next 18 months as it now conducts critical maintenance on aging power plants. Well, Eskom has welcomed the announcement by President Cyril Ramaphosa that financially viable municipalities can now procure their own electricity from independent power producers. The President delivered the State of the Nation address on Thursday, listing measures to increase energy generating capacity outside of Eskom. Now, to discuss this further, we're joined in studio by Mr. Marubini Raphulu. He's the CEO of investment company Hulisani Limited. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you for your time on the SABC News Desk.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Well, we are facing another grim weekend without the lights on. What do you make of the President's announcement at SONA on Thursday regarding the IPP and bid window 5 of the Renewable Energy Programme?
I think it was an acknowledgement that, as you can see now, we're in stage 3 load shedding, that we have a power problem. We have a capacity problem and we need to resolve that problem. We need to resolve it in a number of ways. Eskom needs to be fixed. And to fix it, you have to take it online. So you're going to experience load shedding for the next 18 months. That's the program. But also you need to bring new capacity on board. And to bring new capacity on board, you need to have a Section 34 determination to give effect to the Integrated Resource Plan 2019. That is what will be done. It invites industry to come in to produce their own power. There's no longer a cap on the megawatts that you can produce. There's a clear timeline on how many days to get your license. I think it was very positive, and it's what we wanted to hear.
Marubini, I want to hear from you. How do you respond to skeptics or criticism from unions especially that we've been hearing over the recent years, especially when it comes to independent power producers? They're saying that it will benefit only a few in the country and also result in more job losses.
I think what we have to do is frame the discussion. If you listen to what the President was saying on Thursday, what he was saying is that we need to have a national discussion and you need parties to come, all stakeholders to come to the party to come up with a solution. There is a discussion that is happening at NEDLAC at the moment on what to do with Eskom. If you look at where we build the power plants, there are communities, there are engagements with communities on where the power plants are. I think it's not an us versus them. It's not a binary discussion. You need to have a discussion, and the best way to have a discussion is to be in the room. I don't think we closed up. We're an investment company. Anyone can invest in an investment company, not just us, but many investment companies. And I think what we're seeing now is almost a democratization of the power from a monopoly into a wider group of people.
I just want to garner your thoughts on whether there is enough political will, if you want to call it that, to make good on this integrated resource plan, the IRP 2019 that we're hearing so much about at this stage.
We've seen we've had the right noises, and we're seeing the right movement. We didn't have an integrated resource plan from 2010 until 2019. So there has been a shift. From then, you had the Minister of Minerals and Energy Resources confirming last week at Mining in Daba that you can produce for yourself. And that was affirmed by the President. The President clearly said, we will give effect to the Integrated Resource Plan 2019. We will issue round 5. NESA will look at issuing license. From that perspective, we're seeing movement, and it's not just talk. From what we're seeing, there are clear timelines and guidelines on what needs to happen. It needs to happen soon. You can't have any growth, any economic development without power. All the or what we're trying to achieve with the National Development Plan 2030 will not happen without power. Power has been a constraint, and we need to build.
In order to meet those NDP goals, like you're mentioning, which is a blueprint for our nation going forward, what do you think, from your own experience, is currently needed or missing from the energy mix in the country at this juncture?
I think we need to build more. It's clear that we have one thing falls offline, and we have load shedding. Stage 2, it escalates to stage 3, stage 4. You need different sources. We need to diversify our sources. There's a place for coal, there's a place for gas, there's a place for solar, there's a place for renewable energy generally. There is a place. So you need to diversify the energy mix. You need to diversify the suppliers so that if Eskom is down, somebody else can supply. But you still need an Eskom that is functional. You need to have a diversified field where you have diversified energy players and you also have diversified sources.
All right, so we're now going to allow other energy producers into the mix. Will this not create more competition for an already cash-strapped power utility? Used to be one of the biggest and best on the continent. We've watched it tragically being brought to its knees. Will this not lead to Eskom just deepening its financial crisis? I do
not think so. I think Eskom needs to restructure and to sort out their finances. They have power stations that they need to decommission in terms of their own schedule, and they need to replace that with something. What that is, we don't know. If they're looking for the cheapest sources to replace, at the moment you have solar PV and you have wind, and then they have to say, how do you then balance the intermittency? So that's why you're seeing gas plants, and you also have in the integrated resource plan new coal, clean coal. That's what it's called.
Yes.
But you need new capacity to replace old capacity. Power stations can't run forever. You need to replace it at cheapest cost.
All right, all eyes on ratings agency Moody's. They're scheduled to review the country's credit rating next month already. Do you think this announcement is going to be enough to prevent a further downgrade, Marubini?
I think an announcement on its own is not enough. I think we need to see implementation, and we also need to wait for the budget speech from the Minister of Finance, and that will give us further direction. But I think an announcement on its own is not enough. We need to see implementation.
Mr. Marubini Raphulu, he's the CEO of investment company Hulisani Limited. Thank you so much for your time on the SABC News Desk.
Thank you.
Well, let's move on now. Democratic Alliance leader